Hi, my name is Christian Halbert. I'm a soul care counselor here at Graceland Church, and I want to talk to you about a pretty heavy topic that I'm quite passionate about. Have you ever felt so much pain in your life that death seems like the only possible way of escaping it? If you or someone you've known has felt this way, I want to talk to you right now. And I have a bit of an information dump for you, so please hang tight for me. Suicide is the 12th leading cause of death in this country. And alarmingly, suicide is also the 3rd leading cause of death for teenagers and young adults, which means that the incidence of teenage suicide has more than tripled over the last 30 years. Women are 3 times more likely to attempt suicide, but men are 2 to 4 times more likely and more successful at killing themselves when they attempt it. This is because men are more likely to use the deadliest methods of killing. The most common ways that people tend to kill themselves are with firearms, suffocation, and poisoning. The biggest factors tempting someone to suicide are relationship problems, a recent crisis within the last 2 weeks, problematic substance abuse, and physical health problems. Across all populations, someone can be at a greater risk for suicide if they attempted it before, if there's presence of substance abuse or mental health problems, if they knew another person who died by suicide, if they had chronic disease or disability, if they were socially isolated or lacked access to mental health, and things like this. This is not something that we want to face, but we all need to be aware of these things so that we can take it seriously and have solutions to help loved ones who are in need. Here are some myths about suicide that Dr. Jim Burns of Homeward has dispelled that will aid us in thinking about how to help people with this difficult struggle. Myth number 1, suicide happens without warning. In most cases, many people give multiple warning signs before they make an attempt on their life. We tend to miss these warnings and think that people are just overreacting in the moment. The first time you see a warning sign, you should take it very seriously, and all other ones that follow. Here are some signs to look out for. 1, talking about wanting to die or killing themselves. 2, searching for ways to kill themselves or buying a gun. Talking about hopelessness or having no reasons to live. Talking about being trapped or in unbearable pain. Talking about being a burden to others. Increasing the use of alcohol or drugs, acting anxious, agitated, or reckless, sleeping too little or too much, withdrawing or isolating themselves, showing rage or talking about seeking revenge, and extreme mood swings. Myth number 2, people who talk about killing themselves won't follow through with it. Once again, usually the opposite is true. For teenagers, about 80% of those who attempt to kill themselves talked about it beforehand, but the warning signs were disregarded. If you fear that someone is considering killing themselves, you may also fear that mentioning it to them will actually give them the idea. Don't give in to that fear. Gently ask them how they are doing and if they've considered hurting themselves, and be patient with them. Myth 3. Suicidal people do not seek medical help. Research has shown that 3/4 of people who made an attempt on their life visited a doctor within the first 1 to 3 months of the attempt. Myth 4. All suicidal people have mental illnesses. In truth, only 15% of people who have taken their lives were diagnosed with a mental illness. Many people who try to kill themselves, they appear normal and average to everyone around them. Myth 5. Suicidal people are completely committed to dying. For many people, especially teenagers, Jim Burns said a common trait of those contemplating suicide is ambivalence. Along with a strong desire to die, they also have a strong desire to live. And this desire is what we really need to capitalize on and focus on and use to give them hope that there really are things worth living for. If they're offered hope and security, they can be persuaded to find a reason to live. Myth 6. When depression lifts, the threat of suicide is over. This can actually be a time where one needs to be on high alert. The lifting of depression could mean that the person has finally decided to take their own life. That decision can kind of look like a manic sense of euphoria about the pain they are about to escape or what exists on the other side. If they make a dramatic shift in mood, be watchful and keep a pulse on how they're doing. Now, having covered some myths about suicide, what are some things that we can do if we know someone who is tempted to kill themselves? Rich Van Pelt, an expert in working with youth and families in crisis, said that what is needed for someone to commit suicide is a time, place, and method. This means that if someone can discuss times, places, or methods of killing themselves, then serious action and intervention needs to take place immediately. Encourage the person who says that to call a suicide hotline. The number for this particular hotline I have is 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. Ask them to reach out to their pastor, therapist, seek an evaluation from a doctor or psychiatrist, and if they're not compliant, as a last measure, you should call the police. That seems tough, but as is commonly said, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Suicide is not the answer to the challenges that we're facing. It's a decision we can't take back, and it will spread many times more pain to the people that we leave behind. Across all populations, the most important factors in protecting people from suicide are access to good mental health care, life skills and coping skills, increased self-esteem, cultural, spiritual, and personal beliefs that discourage suicide, and connectedness to individuals, families, the community, and its resources. This is encouraging because this means that more people who get involved in the life of someone struggling with suicidal ideation, if the more people are involved, the least likely they will be at trying to kill themselves. So the encouragement we want to offer you is that you don't have to die to end your pain. God has hope and help to offer you through his word and through the people he's placed all around you. And as I've said elsewhere, there's an old Swedish proverb that says, shared joy is double joy, shared sorrow is half sorrow. God said in the Bible that it's not good for man to be alone. He created us to need each other, and more importantly, he's created us to need him. There are people in our lives that we can share our pain with. But through Jesus Christ, God has made himself always and more available than anyone to bear our pain for us and with us if we turn to him. I hope this encourages you, and if you need us to encourage you on your spiritual path some more, please connect with us at gracelandchurch.online.